Okay, hello, Kieran here. In this next little exercise, what we are going to look at is some colour correction using a reference image. There's a couple of ways that I can do this. So very quickly, the key technique that I'm looking at is using the neutral values in one image and applying them to a second image. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to bring up my my out of focus color checker here. So I've got the 18% grey card. I've also got the neutral values on the expensive color checker. This is a cheap one. And here I am in Camera Raw, and it's just a simple matter of grabbing the white balance tool and using any neutral area in the image. And when you're shooting with a reference image, it couldn't be any easier than just single clicking. Too easy. So this location where I shot the reference image is actually here, where I've got this interesting brass kind of jewellery stuff. So what I'm wanting to do is to share those settings together. There's two ways that I can do it. The first way is I'm going to save this setting, this white balance setting that I've recorded. I'm just going to go save, and I'll need to pop it back in the folder that I got my things from so I can find it. I don't have to, but I'm just going to call it white balance for that image. So it's got the image number still in there, and it's a white balance. It's going to save that off for later. But when I've got the two images in Camera Raw to work with, it's a little bit sort of out of our workflow, but worth looking at. Make sure that I've got the adjusted one in the editing pane, select both of them, and then I'm just going to go ahead and choose sync settings. I've got all the things that I can choose. I only changed the white balance, so I'm just going to go OK. And in the background there, boom, you can see the difference. If I tap the letter P, that's the before, there's the after. Amazing. What a difference. Cool, syncing settings. Now, I'm just going to, actually I might just, I'll reset this one so that I can use, so I'm just holding in the Option key, hitting the reset button, yes, whatever, and now I'm going to hold down the Shift key and I'm going to open the image of the jewellery. It's come up as a smart object. We've seen that time and time again. Now I'm going to apply my Camera Raw, and I've decided to go this way because I want to use, the masking options. So Camera Raw has no masking, but Photoshop does. Dang, where can I get that white balance setting? Just go ahead and load it from the hamburger menu. That's not the one that I want. That's the one that I want. White balance. Whoop. Nice. Cool. So I've got my basic white balance setting in there. I can see I've got all these highlight problems, and I know that when I pop into the histogram, that the whites are the very brightest thing. So I'm just going to knock those back and see, dropping that back by 100 plus the highlights should let me, in fact, if I go back to like minus 50 of the highlights, I might be able to get some of the whites back in without crunching them. So I'll just pop those back at minus 50 each. Too easy. The overall contrast of the image is pretty well perfect, So I've got a decent spread of image detail from one end of the spectrum to the other. So if I were to adjust the exposure, I probably wouldn't get much more out of that. Do I need to lift the blacks or the shadows? Let's just see there. I'm not too fussed about that. I think because of that good exposure, we've got a good range of dynamic sort of tones. So what I'll do is I'll attack it through the contrast instead. I'm just going to give that a +50 in the contrast. Hitting the letter P again, I can see actually the white balance is a bit distracting, but still just looks awesome. Saturation, oh look at that green. I'm gonna just knock this back an absolute smidge. Okay, too good. Let's have a look at the before and after by hitting the letter Q. Yep, there we go. Far more natural looking result. Potentially I could get in and give the yellows a little bit of a boost if I want it to be, really goldy. I could just pop into the hue, saturation, and lightness, luminance adjustments area, and then say maybe, can we take the green a bit? That's better. A bit more towards the yellow. So it was the sort of overall green look that was, let's just set that back to 0, that was bugging me there. So if I'd use the single panel preview, so Command Option P, yep, that's better. I can see that I've managed to wind out a little bit of the green, bring back the more goldy hue, and that is a pretty good result.